because a lot of the boys and girls that are here would probably know me as Costa the Garden Gnome, as well as my role in Gardening Australia. And one of the big roles that I've got there at the moment is we're actually putting together a whole lot of short documentaries for the Department of Agriculture about biosecurity, and we're actually showcasing those stories by showcasing Indigenous ranger groups. More than 69 Indigenous ranger groups around the country who are doing biosecurity. They've never called it that, they've just called it observation for thousands of years. We call it a lot of different things in our whitefella speak, but you know, it's incredible to be learning so much from our First People, and the more I travel and the more I learn, the more I realise that it is places like this where we all get a chance to come and just observe. We get to observe with nature, we get to connect with country, we get to connect with the seasons, we get to understand the incredible world that's going on around us. The other day on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I was filming in Geelong, and the moon came up, and I was in Highton, which is a suburb of Geelong that's, funnily enough, quite high. And the moon, suddenly someone was looking out, and they said, "Oh, the moon's coming up on the horizon," but it was like a big moon. It was the day after the full moon, so it was as good as a full moon. But this moon just went, woo, and it just makes you realise we're on this spinning planet. We're on this amazing piece of engineering, and the infrastructure of that engineering is exactly, or the actual life-giving force of that engineering is right here in this garden. And for all of you to come out today, like, I mean, I didn't know how many people were going to come today, and I can't tell you how stoked I am to see a couple of hundred people here, because we're actually celebrating our life-giving environment. And everything that was spoken about previously is all about the layers that this garden brings and the layers that it brings to community. I'm amazed at when I get involved with, you know, even when I set up my street garden in my street, the first thing we default to is, oh, what if someone damages it? What if someone takes the fruit? Oh, that might be interesting. They eat it, you know? What if someone, you know, takes more than they should? Or what if someone, what if, as opposed to, let's just do it. And from the beginnings of a bonfire and a lost shed to this, there's a point in any community-driven project where the energy changes. And it's like anything, if there's paper on the ground, people will drop paper. If a place is loved and supported and nurtured, people will be loving and supporting and nurturing of that space. And I mean, I saw when we came round the corner, I happened to look down, because I like looking down open space corridors, it's just a personal thing. And I looked down there and I saw that fence, and I saw the houses here, and I saw people and I saw cars. And I mean, they're the moments for me, because I'm saying, wow, look at this. 3 years. In 3 years, this has come out of the ground. And there were so many key points that I was listening to about how this has grown. And probably the most important thing that I enjoyed when we were talking earlier, when I arrived, this garden came because people wanted it. It wasn't built as every suburb should have a community garden. Like, that's the wrong way to do it. You know, and I see those gardens that get driven by one person, and then that person goes, or it gets dropped. Like, I've done a lot of work in schools, and I'm always convincing principals, no, I don't want the work done in the school holidays, because then it's like a spaceship that's landed without any connection. Whereas when we build gardens and do things in schools during school time, and the children are watching and they're asking questions, some may say they're annoying the contractors. No, the contractors are responsible for education. And because we'd always take that approach, if they came to the fence and asked a question, I would say to every one of the team, You answer that question, because then they've felt part of it, and we'd involve them in little things, even if it was one class wheeling 2 barrows of mulch and splashing it around like a Hail Mary. Doesn't matter, because if you get them in there, then they have buy-in. And I look around here today and I know that there is buy-in, but that's come from Sustainable Macleod and the crop swap, or the food swap, is it a crop? Veggie swap, all the same. Veggie swap. The veggie swap builds the interest. It builds the story. Once we get a story and a dialogue going, then we can start to engage other people. I go to crop swaps all the time, and you wouldn't believe. I don't usually have a lot of veg to take, because most of the time I'm away and miss my planting windows, but that's another story. But I end up with lots and lots and lots of preserves and different things, and so I just turn up with those, and they might be a bit outside the use-by date, but hello. I'm not going to leave them at home any longer, and I take them there, and I end up not taking anything anyway. Now and then I'll take a plant and share it or give it away as a gift. But they're one of the most... the veggie swap is one of the most sort of, how could I put it? It's like, well, it's beyond community. It's the most democratic of things, because you bring something, you take something. And I always remember the crop swap. One of the first crop swaps I went to was in Mildura, and they had a sign on the table, and I've never forgotten it ever since. And I love to share it, but it's the most basic of tenets, and it's a tenet that's been upheld by our Indigenous land carers for thousands and thousands of years. Bring what you can, take what you need. And when we live in a time where we have a marketing consumption consciousness that wants to blur the difference between wants and needs, a crop swap is such a democratic way of going, hey, I know you could bring a wheelbarrow and take a wheelbarrow full, but do you really need it? Because you're not going to eat all those grapefruit. And they're going to go off. So let someone else take them until the end of the swap, where we go, well, this is all left, free for all. Take it. And I'm really buoyed by the fact that this garden came out of that, because it had a foundation, it had a real galvanising base on which this could pop out of the ground so quickly in 3 years by the brainchild of one individual, right? Just walking along and going, oh, and I had the same situation happen in there's a common area in Canberra, where a lady was walking along this path between the primary school and the high school, along a river in Canberra, and she was just frustrated that she'd just watched this big paddock be mowed. All this energy, all this fuel, all this stuff. And what was the outcome? Zero. You can't eat the grass, although I'm working on it as a smoothie option, but you can't do much with grass clippings, right? Of course I could find a way with mulching and composting. But she just said, well, let's make this the Lynham Commons. But it was one person, and that's why I look around a gathering like today and I see some hundreds of people. We don't need massive shifts of consciousness to grow something out of the ground so quickly. We don't need to have it helps to get some backing, of course, but we don't have to sell out to one party or another, because this is apolitical. It's apolitical in the sense that this is of community value, but it's very political in the sense that food is political. Food is incredibly political. Every mouthful of food that we take is making a stand about what we believe. It's about our values. It's about the community that we want. And these things should never, ever be trivialised to party lines. And I'm stoked that all the representatives are here from each of the parties, because we are together when it comes to a community garden. We are one. Our children. I love working with all these children, because I want to show them that we can do this, and we can live in abundance, and we can live in such a wonderful, caring, integrated society, and it's a crazy leftover tennis court where, you know, there's no whinging, there's no tantrums here. Oh, I better be careful. You know, there's no tantrums here. The only tanty is that people wanted to get it done. Well, actually, I'll take that one back. I don't think that anything has been rushed about this, because I can smell it. I can see it in the structures. This is not a Humpty Dumpty kind of, which is fine, because sometimes it's nice to build stuff immediately to get input and get something out of the ground for people driving past to see. But this ain't no Humpty Dumpty construction. This is going to be here forever, because someone has taken the time to get a grant and put in the effort. So each and every one of you have a capacity here. It could just be turning up for the crop swap at first. It could be coming and bringing some cuttings and helping grow. It could be coming once a month and doing a workshop. $15 workshop, what a bargain. I took a couple of notes there. Geez, that's a couple of $25 a year to get access to this sort of food, locally grown, harvested when it's chock-a-block full of the sugars and the minerals and everything that hasn't been placed on a truck and been driven for days, or flown in from the other side of the world saying product of USA or product of, like the asparagus. If I'm going to get smelly wheat, I want locally smelly wheat. I don't need some Venezuelan, I don't need Venezuelan asparagus at the cost of some sort of trade-off to our growers here. And we need to be very conscious of this, because we can grow this stuff here and we should, you know. But $25 a year for membership, oh my God, like that's 4 coffees. 4 coffees, and you can have access. What did you say, on a Wednesday and a Saturday? Come. 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock Wednesday to Saturday, and which? Wednesday and Saturday, 1 o'clock, and
Monday evenings, but we might open it 2 nights.
Yeah, and there might be 2 nights, so it gets better. It gets better.
On Sundays as well.
And maybe Sundays as well. Jeez, place is going to be cleaned out. But you know, it's not the thing that I love about these places is that it's not that you can come here and get everything that you need, but you can get everything that can help you to deal with your needs in a different way, because you get the education so that you can start to grow all of these herbs at your place, because there's no need and there's no reason why you shouldn't have these adorning. Oops, and that was until I just, oops. Okay.
Don't buy that one.
Don't buy that one.
I'll buy that one. You know, there's no reason why we can't have a space at home, and whether you've got containers, whether you've got a little piece of your nature strip or your verge, or whether you've got a back garden, you can learn here. Like, what a model. Like, this is like the most amazing model of how you can grow fruit trees. You can grow stone fruit, you can grow lemons, you can grow the understory required to make it thrive. You can have a wicking to everything you need to know about gardening, believe it or not, is right here. And there's pizza. like seriously. Like, is there anywhere better? Like, look at this team here, just going nuts with a pizza oven, so that you can come here, do a bit of work, turn the compost, be around, make the tea. If you don't have the physical strength to be gardening, you can be here and be the support mechanisms. You can be a part of something that is going to teach all of these little ones the facts around what they can do. And did you say you get the workshops for free if you're a member? No, get out. No. I'm going to join up and just come to the workshops. I'll just turn up. I go, oh my God, Costa just won't get out of here. You know, and then he'll go, oh, he took that idea and he put it on Gardening Australia and getting all the accolades. You know, what an outrage is that? But no, like, just to sign up and support the group and then come to the workshops, that is the end game that the Sustainable Macleod want. They want to inform the community to then be able to take this to the next level. And taking it to the next level is actually taking it home. And then going into all of that next range of, well, where do I get my food? What decision making? Where is the power in my day-to-day? The power in my day-to-day is the choices that I make. And when I grow food and I know food, then I will not make a choice to buy food that I do not know where it's been grown. I do not know how it's been grown. And I'm a bit sketchy about how far it's travelled. You know, and when you make those decisions, it will end up being the same as this garden developed. Not because I've come here and said, you must stop and you must buy local and blah, blah, blah. No, you'll actually just change incrementally. Because you go, oh, I just spent $9 a kilo on those cricket ball tomatoes when I could grow my own and pick them fresh and just go without until they're ready. And then I get immersed in seasonality so that when the berries are on, I'm pooing berries and I'm happy about it, right? That's what we want. I want to see the kids covered in mulberries. I want to see them popping pomegranate seeds out the back end. You know, this is really important because and it's got to be fun, you know. If we want them in there, we've got to do that sort of stuff and get them growing and propagating and growing a money plant, you know, and getting into succulents so that they understand different things and then understand the microclimate of the garden and say, well, we can't grow leafy greens on that side of the house because it's the west. What's that mean? Well, go and stand there about 3 o'clock in mid-January and then I'll tell you what that means, you know, after you've fallen down. You know, these are those little education things, and you can see it here. And then, of course, composting. Like, oh, let me tell you something. Not that I haven't told you anything. And just boo me off when you've had enough. Although actually, I sadly, it's very rare. Okay, that phone's died. Oh, 240. Yeah, it's funny time. Yeah, sadly, I will put I'll put a tenant on this visit because normally I will be here and stay a lot longer, but because I had to go back, I was in Melbourne and then I had to go back to a pretty special sort of dinner on Friday night, which meant I came down this morning, but I was already booked up because my team made the grand final, so I'm going to the grand final in Sydney tonight. So there was no way I was not going to come, but then, so I will come back. I will come back and do what I really believe, which is spend some real time here. But in the meantime today, you know, I look at, so to the principal, let me just so I get, it's Mario, to Mario. Like, seriously, Mario, what a community champion. He's been here for 32 years, right? And then he had enough ticker to say, I'm going to give you this tennis court because he believed in what the group was saying, right? Now, to have a community garden on a school grounds, I would say that the best models of community gardens that I've seen is exactly this model. Because when it's on the school grounds, guess what? The school has people around it. The school doesn't become a dormitory on the weekend, right? There's people in here all day and almost, for some freaks, all night, right? Who are there watching their seedlings grow. You want that, right? You want that craziness. You want people arriving and going all the time. And it goes back to what you were saying before about, and what I was saying, the energy changes. When people are around, people feel the love, they feel the community. I'm not getting kumbaya with you here, right? Happy, happy, clappy, 7 hands. It changes. When people are around, it gets community strength, and everyone knows that this is a place of focus. It's a hub. And no one's going to do anything at a hub out of line because someone is bound to arrive, right? So Mario, the fact that you've put the school garden here is, you know, a real example of how each and every one of us can contribute in different ways. Someone contributed with the digger to establish the foundation groundworks. Someone else contributed by helping build the construction. Someone else contributed by getting the godforsaken grants sorted out, which is enough to drive anyone into a corner and start going like this. And then you've got a report on it and all that. But that's just part of the deal. But all of the rest of the effort has come from you people putting in the unrecognised on the budget sheet, the unrecognised hours. But those hours mean that those little bits of grant go a lot further, right? And they get done, and then when that goes up, that inspires the next person who happens to drive up and go, oh, what's that? And then they bump into someone, they go, oh, that's this. Oh, and they go, oh, well, actually, I'm a roofing plumber, I'll come and fix that up for you. And we'll set up a tank somewhere, and I can put a roof over the container, or I get all these 1,000 litre IBCs, and can get as many of those for you as you like. Or I know how to build get the plastic over, or the lining over that, or whatever it is. And there's people in here, you don't even know what you could contribute yet. But maybe once you sleep on it over the next however long, it could be 6 months, it could be 12 months, it could be 12 hours. But you might come back and say, yeah, I'm going to go to that crop swap and bring all this stuff that I've got in the garage because it's going nowhere. You know, there's a whole lot of pots, or there's a whole lot of something, you know, that I can contribute. And when you think about that, like one of the best schools that I've seen recently, and I could see a similar thing happening here, Murray, but I'll just float it. I'm not driving it. Or I am, sort of. Yeah, well, actually, I am. Anyway, we did a story. Now check this one out when you can. It's going to be on. It's not going to be on until our first episode next year, because we figured we're going back to school. So the first episode, we're doing this thing called Share Waste. Right now, it's an app. And it's an app developed by 2 Czech nationals who came to Australia and were frustrated by the fact that they were living in apartments and couldn't do anything with their food scraps. And so he wrote an app, and it's called Share Waste. Right now, this is really difficult. I'm going to sit down to explain it. It's really difficult. There's 2 icons when you open it up. I have scraps, I have compost. And you click one or the other. When you click one or the other, the map comes up of Macleod. And you either see an icon with a compost bin, an icon with a chicken, or an icon with food scraps. And then you click on that. So I might click on it, and lo and behold, it's
Food scraps.
food scraps. And your name?
Oh, Galen.
Sorry.
Galen.
Galen. And Galen. And then I just click on that, and Galen says, hi, I'm Galen. I take all sorts of food scraps, but no dairy, please. And I just write an email. Hey, Galen, I'm Costa. I want to bring my scraps around. She says, yep. Leave it in the bucket, you know, on the outside the front fence. Finish. Okay. So out of that, one of the first hosts. Can you imagine that? Putting that on your resume. Compost host. Forget about all this other malarkey. I go, you're a compost host. If you said that to me, you'd get the job. You would get the job. Your values align with me like nothing else. Oh, well, you could do it. Yeah. No pressure. But yeah, imagine I'm a compost host. It's just like I made a street library at my house, just like this one. Aren't they cool? Yeah, they're really good. I love them. But I made one of those. See, I can't be a compost host because if I put my address there, it's going to go a bit crazy. So I just support the thing. But I made a street library at my place, and so guess what? I have in my resume when people ask me to come and do a speak, and I mix it around. Sometimes I'll just shift it. I might say, I could put landscape architect, malarkey, all that sort of thing. That's all fine. But sometimes I just go street librarian. You know, like, and that's the G up about it. That's the fun that we can sort of take these ideas and share them, but share them in the day-to-day engagements that we have and say, yeah, I hang my shingle, I hang my who I am defined by being a street librarian. And then if you wanted me to do a talk about that, I could go for an hour without taking a breath about why a street library is so valuable in terms of education. So anyway, back to the story. This first host, he's involved with his school, which is over in Newtown in Sydney. And he came up with this idea. He said, well, and Camdenville Public School has their school garden in the grounds. And they've got the same deal, you know, a gate coming in from one side. But they decided, and they created this thing called Food Scrap Friday, right? And so what they did, they went to the reverse garbage place and got all those white pails that, you know, shops get mayonnaise in or ghee or, you know, all that kind of stuff. And they got like, you know, I don't know how many families are at the school, 100 of them, right, or 80 of them. And each family got one, but they sprayed on it Food Scrap Friday in blue. And so each family takes that home. And on a Friday, they march in. So the kids come in and they have it set up near the gate. And they have scales. And there's a team. And there's a trolley. And they weigh it. Because that, just by the way, was the most important things that I heard. Because if we want to give our politicians, we can't put the boot into our local, state or federal members if we don't give them facts. They need facts and figures. They can't go up there and say, oh, you know, I'm the federal member for Joker, and we have a wonderful group at Macleod, and they're looking for 120 grand to put solar power and have electricity, and they're going to run this and they're going to do that and they're going to take over that field in no time. Sorry, Mario. You know, they're going to do all these things. You can't go there with Kumbaya playing in the background. It's got to go there with some facts. And I heard facts today. Where did I write it down? 5,330 tomatoes. That's a fact that I'm sure Matt or Katie or Andrew would stand up in the parliament, in the local council, in the state parliament and say, my community garden grew 5,330 tomatoes. Does anyone have a problem with that? Right? They're going to stand up and they will swing. And whatever anyone threw at them, and again, whatever party, whatever, they will swing and smash any comment out of the grounds. And you reckon the tomatoes? What about the pumpkins? They grew
350 kilos.
350 kilos of pumpkins. So, Mr. Speaker, find me a community that has those statistics. Thank you very much. We will take that grant. You know, like this is the kind of thing. So this Food Scrap Friday, they weigh it. And they've noted every week for 15 months what they've collected. Yes? Oh, it's 10 to 3. I haven't even done my intro. I got distracted. I didn't even introduce all the dignitaries and thank them, but they get the message. They have, in 15 months, diverted, without trucks, without a centralised composting facility, without machinery, with nothing more than a bucket and child labour, which I loved, right? Weekly child labour. I saw them all buckling under the weight of their white bins. But on the day we did it, it was so cool because we did it on a Monday because that was the day we had to film because that was the only day we could do it. And I loved it because a couple of the students were like, well, it's not Food Scrap Friday on a Monday. So they collected that day 149 kilos from, and they noted down 149 kilos from, I think, 42 families, right? So in the 15 months they've been going, hold your phone. Now, take a seat. Oh, you are. They have diverted 7.5 tonnes of food waste. But that's the figures that we can give to our reps and say, this works. This is beyond FOGO because there's no machines, you know? And it's a great start. And what do they have? They have bins like this scattered all through. And the bins have this signage on them. Got to tread lightly on the soil. Oh, spittle. Sorry. The bins have a sign on them, and there's 3, and you hang, and they hang. And one is feed me, turn me, use me. Like rocket science. Incredible rocket science. But I look at a project like that and think, wow, all that material coming in and it's scattered. They've got about 50 compost bins like that around the garden. You don't even notice them. And so you know, I look at that a school garden and a school and community collaboration has so much potential, and everything Robin was saying about the workshops, about the crop swaps, you know, 2,000 kilos of veggies a year. Keep recording the information. So, and that's what they do, and they can see off their chart that each month they're bringing in more and more food scraps. And once we do that, then we connect with the waste, because if we can take the food scraps out of the bin, then we don't need a lid on the bin because it doesn't smell. And then we can start to look inside the bin and say, well, who's bringing all this plastic? And how can we start to reduce the amount of wrapping? Or how can we start to reduce the amount of packaging? And so then we go into a war on waste without it having to be a big stick. It's actually like, well, why are we buying 50 grams of rice at once when we could buy a 20 kilo sack and spread it around the family, or spread it around the community garden and everyone just invest? Like, there's so many ways. And when you build a hub like this, your collaboration potential, you're just at the beginning. Like, you don't even realise where this could go. And when I see this many people turn up, my God, I'm going to talk about this around the country. Seriously, because this is, you've got something here. This is not just a pulse. This is a dead set wave of potential that is open to all of you. And when I see all the little ones here, you know, getting them involved, but getting them involved is just having them here. Being around some of the elders, being around some of the specialists, helping turn the compost, getting their hands in the worms, looking at the castings, growing something, being given a money plant, being given a piece of pizza with the rocket that they went and picked, understanding the bees, not being afraid of the bees, so we don't have to be going to the council and saying to our local member, oh, we've got people complaining about me having bees in my backyard. No, we'll have already made a notice of motion that, what council is this? Banyule? Yeah. Banyule Council supports native and European bees and any backyard apiarists. So that then when someone complains that Matt's got bees, they say to who wants to complain? Who wants to be the mongrel? Yeah. What's your name? Steve. Yeah, so when Steve rings up and he says, oh, you know, Matt's got bees and I don't want the bees, well, they say, no, well, we support bees as the local community. And so then we're not consistently on the reverse mode every time we want to do something, because we're going to put these as the staples. This is what we live. These are our values, and our values won't be sold out to the value of consumption, you know. So to all of the different levels, so like I said, to Mario and Anthony and Matt and Kate, Andrew, Tom, Peter, Paul, thank you. I thank you for being here, because the fact that you're here is because there's people here. And when the people create this sort of a gathering, that's a big statement that you can take forward. Take it to local, take it to state, take it to federal, and say, this is a valued part of our community. It's been a wonderful, it's evolved and crystallised over a period of time with volunteers. So to all the volunteers, I recognise each and every one of you for the hours that you've put in. To anyone that's got a round of applause for the volunteers, because they've laid a platform for everyone else who hasn't known about it or been involved to now come along and slide in and start to contribute and reap the benefits of the next tier. Because it's really just a case of you get to that level, then you get to this level, and the view changes. And look at these structures that are here. You can churn out so much food, so much education, so much community building here, that there's no need for a community officer, because each and every one of you are community officers contributing. And then what the council can do is actually support and that's really what the layers of government are about. They're about supporting. They're not about driving it. They cannot drive it. It's not their gig. And when we recognise that, then we go to them with the facts and say, okay, do what you do. Thank you. 125 grand solar power. Thank you, Mario. We're going to, you know, just plant a little bit more biodiversity around the outside because we want to bring more pollinators, and we just happen to shift the fence on the weekend, but that's fine. You know, all those things. But you know, from Mario's point of view, what a crazy, like that becomes the, you know, it's the incubation zone for students to, and the community to say, well, this is just part of, like, our school, our broader mixing pot and melting pot of people of all ages, you know. And to all the little boys and girls that are here, to your mums and dads, avail yourself, get engaged with this, rather than have a coffee with the mothers group or the you know, the men's shed or whatever it is. Come down here and have a cuppa and wander around the garden and make it something. Have a repair cafe down here one weekend, where, you know, people can come and get things repaired, and then you've got boomerang bags, and then you've got CWA, and you've got all these things, but they don't have to be rushed, because there's someone out here that might have tweaked, and you can say, boom. So I'm done. Because, hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, mums and dads, aunts and uncles, citizens of the Greater Banyule and Macleod district, it gives me a great day on this, the 30th day of September 2018, to recognise the wonderful work that has gone into the Macleod Organic Community Garden. And on behalf of all the boys and girls who will be the ultimate beneficiaries of this garden, we together declare before you that the garden is officially open! Both hands on, both hands on. I love this sort of stuff. Thank you, boys and girls. Pizza for everyone.